Next up, this is under presentations with prior notice. We have KPB 7340. This is a presentation by Mr. Dave Haeg, and it is an update on the investigative grand jury. Mr. Haeg, the floor is yours.
Thank you. My name's David Haeg. Live out on Browns Lake out Funny River Road. Thank you for this opportunity. About 20 years ago, evidence surfaced indicating corruption in Alaska's judicial system and Department of Law, but all oversight agencies refused to investigate. In 2017, citizens realized Alaska's grand juries have the power to investigate government agencies when government agencies refuse. For years, citizens are blocked from getting the evidence to grand juries, and grand juries themselves are outright ordered to stop investigating. Despite Alaska's Constitution, which states, quote, the power of grand juries to investigate and make recommendations concerning the public welfare or safety shall never be suspended, unquote. Finally, citizens asked local elected bodies for resolutions to help. Resolutions 2022-004 and 2023-026 passed unanimously by this body are examples. After judges order a sixth grand jury to stop investigating, citizens organized a statewide courthouse sit-in, which forces a new Kenai grand jury to be impaneled and allowed to investigate. The grand jury is immediately crippled. It's impaneled with too few jurors. Jurors go missing and are never found. Supreme Court changes grand jury rules to stop them from investigating court cases. Grand jury is appointed independent counsel who has a direct conflict of interest and has an interest in keeping the corruption covered up, etc., etc., etc. The grand jury investigates for over 2 years, indicts a former judge, and writes a report and recommendation to the public on what was found. But judges dismiss the indictment and seal the report and recommendation before the public can see it. On November 29, 2023, the independent prosecutor wrote, the grand jury decided on August 2, 2022, to investigate allegations of corruption that were brought to its attention by David Haeg during the summer of 2021. What did I give the grand jury? I gave them transcribed testimony from longtime Soldotna attorney Dale DeLifka, who testified under oath to Superior Court Judge Stephanie Joannides during my 2010 appeal. After receiving this, the Kenai grand jury subpoenaed and questioned Attorney DeLifka, Judge Joannides, and numerous other witnesses. Here are excerpts of DeLifka's sworn testimony. Quote, your case has shades of Selma in the 60s, where judges, sheriffs, and even assigned lawyers were all in cahoots together. The reason why you have still not resolved your legal problems is corruption. I can tell you exactly what happened. In the early stages, you were one of the first that I realized it was corruption. At first, I thought it was ineptness. Over time in this journey with you, here's a corrupt case, here's a corrupt case, and here's a corrupt case. Now here's what happens when they come up on appeal. You have the Supreme Court sitting there looking at a pile of dung, and if they do right by you and reveal, you know, you have the attorneys going down, you have the magistrates going down, you have the troopers going down. You're one small part of the pocket. The reason is all gummed up at the top. You're just one of many. It's absolute, unadulterated, self-bred corruption. I talked to Judge Hanson about this. I lean on him all the time. He now sees it. The system crushes them. I have absolutely no faith left in the system. Never has there been a case in history that cries out for more for outside intervention because you have been to all the major players. Your case became more and more troubling to me because it was endemic of our whole community. It might have been cutting edge, but it wasn't the only one. Mr. Angleton and I more than once tried to get our local newspaper to help us deal with our imploding community, but they wouldn't, largely because, I don't know, there's a more political area than Kenai Soldotna. We have fish politics on the river, we're an oil patch place, and we just sit in a cauldron of political things. And those I can live with. When it went into the judicial system is when it became unnerving because fish politics and oil politics is just politics. But when it gets in the court system, which keeps this whole thing together, that was the poison that was disturbing, unquote. I also gave the grand jury evidence certified by Judge Joanides that directly implicates the Alaska Commission on Judicial Conduct and its investigator Marla Greenstein in falsifying investigations so corrupt judges can remain on the bench. The Kenai grand jury subpoenaed investigator Greenstein, but she lawyered up and refused to testify, according to their independent prosecutor. When the grand jury's independent counsel was asked how he was selected and asked why he never told the grand jury of his conflict of interest in advising them, he stated this on tape. The system wants this to go away, and they pushed it to me because they thought I would be a conduit to kill this. Just prior to passing Resolution 2023-026, Assemblyman Lane Chesley said to the Alaska Court System General Counsel Nancy Mead and Deputy Attorney General John Skidmore, quote, "After listening to hours and hours and hours and hours of public testimony on this issue, is that you have a real crisis of confidence in your court system here. And I just encourage you to take that seriously. If I could do one thing on behalf of all the people who have come here to testify, it's to share with you how serious this is and how important they take it and how they are really struggling to have their voice heard. So if there's any way you can engage with them and help clarify things, I think it would go a long ways. Otherwise, I think the groundswell of concern is going to grow." However, a group, now including Borough Mayors Edna DeVries and our own Peter Machicki, have sought a meeting with Alaska's governor or attorney general on the foregoing, all to no avail. Instead, the AG wrote up a grand jury process without any input from citizens, which makes him the gatekeeper to grand juries. If this process stands, citizens will never be able to expose corruption that the attorney general wishes to keep hidden. Honorable Assembly members, once again, we the people ask for your help in defending our Constitution from an attack that is also unjustly crushing innocent Alaskans. We humbly ask that you immediately form a working group to publicly investigate the circumstances that unconstitutionally stopped our brave Kenai grand jury. We ask you to pass resolutions asking all borough assemblies, city councils to support and supplement your investigation, and to demand the release of the grand jury report and recommendation. Lastly, we ask that you urge our governor and AG to answer citizen questions on this. Otherwise, as predicted, the groundswell of concern is going to continue growing, and we the people have now exhausted all peaceful remedies. Thank you for your time, and I would be happy to answer questions.
Thank you, Mr. Haeg. Are there any questions from members of the Assembly? Okay, I'm not seeing any. Thank you, Mr. Haeg. Okay, at this time, we will have public comments for items not appearing on the agenda, and I would just like to take a brief at ease while I talk to Mr. Kelly very quickly, and then we'll come back on record. So we'll just take a brief at ease. Okay, we'll come back on the record now. Just for the public's sake, to sort of share the discussion that was going on there. So the question was sort of, and I see that there's a lot of people that are here to testify and likely on the same subject that Mr. Haeg just spoke on. And so since that was on our agenda, the items for public comment that would be coming up now would be for items that are not on the agenda. And then you would have to wait through the meeting, and there would be a second opportunity for public comment where you would have that opportunity to comment. What I would like to do is, and it may be some discussion as to whether or not that would include items that are like actionable on our agenda or not. And so in an abundance of caution, what I would like to do is suspend the rules and take the public comments now. And ask if there's any objection from the Assembly for taking that route. So are there any objections from Assembly members for taking that approach? Okay, seeing none, that brings us to public comments. And I have a list here of people that are signed up. I'll remind people when they come to the microphone, please state your name and the city that you live in the borough, and that you'll have 3 minutes to testify. And so the first name that I have on our list is Queen Parker.
Yeah, my name is Queen Parker, and I live in Sterling. And thank you for letting me say what I have to say here. I'm just reading this, and I don't expect any questions because they can be referred to David Haeg. We found out that the state officials have been deleting information out of the Alaska Grand Jury Handbook to keep grand jurors and Alaska citizens in the dark about the powers of Alaska's grand juries and of the right of Alaska citizens to approach and ask the grand jury to investigate. 2016 Grand Jury Handbook, from which information on the days the grand jury meets was deleted. See pages 6 and 7, which were deleted in 2019 Alaska Grand Jury Handbook. Original Alaska Grand Jury Handbook, from which all the yellow highlighted information was deleted, which explains the right of Alaskan citizens to directly ask the grand jury for investigations and inform the grand jury of their rights to initiate investigations into public officials and agencies on their own. State of Alaska petition for an unimpeded grand jury investigation of judicial corruption, whereas Article 1, Section 8 of the Alaska Constitution clearly states the power of the grand juries to investigate and make recommendations concerning the public welfare or safety shall never be suspended. And whereas Alaska Statute 1240 030 states the grand jury shall inquire into all crimes committed or triable by the court and present them to the court. The grand jury shall have the power to investigate and make recommendations concerning the public welfare or safety. And whereas Alaska Statute 1240 040 states if an individual grand juror knows or has reason to believe that a crime has been committed that is triable by the court, the juror shall disclose it unto the other jurors who shall investigate it. And whereas grand jury Ray Southwest was prohibited by District Attorney Scott Leaders and Judge Jennifer Wells from disclosing to the other jurors his knowledge and evidence that triable crimes were committed by District Attorney Scott Leaders, numerous judges, Judge Investigator Maria Greenstein, troopers, and other officials. And whereas the Alaska Judicial Council official report, the investigation grand jury in Alaska confirms the grand jury's most important role is to inquire into the willful misconduct in office of public officers and to find indictments in connection therewith, and confirms public petition in a proper way to initiate such investigations. And whereas Ray Salford, David Haeg, and others have evidence of felony criminal acts by public officials, that this may be systematic and that this represents a very great concern to the public's welfare and safety. And whereas all prior legal attempts to require this evidence be investigated and have been suppressed by government, therefore we the citizens of Alaska petition for an unimpeded grand jury investigation with independent counsel such as Henry F. SCHUELKE into knowledge and evidence regarding state corruption possessed by Ray Southward, David Haeg, and others without further delay. Good, I'm good. I made it. Thank you. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Mrs. Queen. Ms. Parker, excuse me. Next on the list is Vlastik Merrick, and I apologize if I pronounce people's names wrong. You're next.
Hey, Zoom.
I think he might be on Zoom.
Might be on Zoom. Is there anyone on Zoom by that name? Okay, well maybe come back to that one. Next on the list is Brenda Boudreau. Is Brenda on Zoom? Okay, Brenda, if you're there, unmute yourself, state your name and city, and you have 3 minutes.
Okay, yes, my name is Brenda Boudreau. I'm from Anchorage, Alaska, and I am attending this meeting tonight, exercising my authority as that the Constitution of the United States commands me to exercise. I am here because the supreme law of the land is being ignored, violated, and trampled on by the very institutions sworn to uphold it. Let me be clear, the Constitution is not a suggestion. The Supremacy Clause is not optional, and we the people are not tolerating tyrannical traitors. Deception is not legal or lawful. The Constitution shall be the supreme law of the land, and the judges in every state shall be bound thereby. That means no state policy overrides it. No judge's opinion overrides it. No prosecutor's theory overrides it. No law enforcement narrative overrides it. If the state action violates the Constitution, that action is void. Not debatable, not revisable, it's void. And when the government refuses to obey the Constitution, we the people have a duty and responsibility to step forward and enforce it. Our great nation has fallen from a modern day Trojan horse, in my opinion, which is the infiltration of every part of our government, especially the legal and voting systems. I'm here to tell you that I'm willing to stand up and fearlessly defend our Constitution and our freedom, and to take our constitutional republic back from these infiltrators. I speak in peace and nothing but truth and facts. I have spent the last 4 years watching courts, police, and prosecutors abandon the Constitution in real time. I'm currently being prosecuted for a trumped up, perjured report from an Alaska state trooper. This is not theory. This is not politics, and it's not opinion. It's reality. I've documented judicial and prosecutorial misconduct, 82 violations to be exact, in the current case that I was drugged into. The only constitutional safeguard is the grand jury, who has actually been silenced by rule changes that violate every document they swore to uphold. This is why I'm here. This is why the Assembly must act. This is why Alaska must free the grand juries. This is not about my case, though. It's about the systemic collapse of the constitutional government. Judges are refusing to follow the law, prosecutors advancing cases without evidence, law enforcement profiling citizens such as myself, and violating our constitutional protected rights. Courts denying the fundamental rights guaranteed by the Bill of Rights, the grand jury access blocked by unconstitutional rule, and citizens left defenseless against a court system that answers to and safeguards itself only. This is exactly what the founders warned us about. The Declaration of Independence lists the abuse we are living right now. And I quote, "He has erected a multitude of new offices and sent hither swarms of officers to harass our people, for depriving us in many cases of the very benefits of trial by jury." Alaska's unconstitutional framers.
Ms. Boudreau, your 3 minutes is up. Could you just wrap up, please?
Okay, sorry. Anyway, I want to expose tyranny and defend liberty, and I'm here to restore accountability also, and I'm praying that you will join us to ensure the grand juries are not blocked and people's shield can be returned, because when the government
Okay,
violates
thank you,
Constitution-
Ms. Boudreau. I appreciate the comment. Next on the list, we have Mary Reeves. Mary Reeves is on Zoom. Okay, Ms. Reeves.
Hi.
Thank you for hearing me.
And if you could please state your name and your city for the record.
Alaska. I believe in David Haeg. I know him well. I've personally seen the toll that this case has taken on him, and that alone is wrong. I'm a fish and wildlife biologist, so I actually understand the roots of this situation. I do believe the state of Alaska threw him under the bus. And he should not, as an individual, be forced to take on what he's had to take on with the Alaska judicial system. I mean, our state founders had the foresight to impanel grand juries because they know that power corrupts, right? The reason I follow this is actually personal, because I myself have been embroiled in a family law case in the state of Alaska that I consider bringing to the grand jury. And the reason I would bring it to the grand jury would be because 3 years into my divorce case, after I lost my children, I was trying to file for custody with my children, who I haven't seen in 3 years, and I filed a motion for a change of judge. Everyone told me I should not file for a motion of a change of judge because it would never get accepted. And indeed, I filed it. I was forced to represent myself because he had taken all the money and I had run out of money after paying $200,000 in legal fees. And then I do go through, of course, okay, so the motion for the change of judge, this is part of our judicial process. You have to point out where the judge did things wrong, which our judge, our Superior Court judge, and I will not name her here, did a lot of things wrong in our case. She was new, she was inexperienced, and she was inattentive, or she's just corrupt, which I'm coming to the conclusion that she is just corrupt, and now I have called her out to the Supreme Court judge by filing the motion for the change of judge that I'm required to do. So that's a process problem. That's like a grand jury solution problem. But I've been following David Haeg, and I have known him for several years now, and I'm watching what he's going through. I'm like, I'm not going to put myself through this, especially not when now there's this Congress has taken over, meaning the Alaska Congress wrote this bill to take over the grand jury investigation and buried his whole grand jury investigation. This is judicial corruption, and they're working with the attorneys, and that's what I'm here to say. I think, I don't know if I'm out of time. I have plenty more to say, but I think I'm done if you guys are ready to move on.
Okay, thank you, Ms. Reeves, for your testimony.
You are so welcome.
Next on the list is Tom Patmore. Is he also on Zoom? Okay, Tom's on the phone. How do we do that one?
He's on Zoom.
Via phone. Okay. Mr. Patmore, you have 3 minutes. Please state your name for the record and the city that you live in, and the floor is yours. And I think it's *9 to unmute if you're on your phone.
I see a phone number ending in 301. Is that Mr. Patmore?
Okay, maybe we'll come back to Mr. Patmore as well. And I just remind the public as well, we're going to keep this to an aggregate of 20 minutes, and so I'm trying to move through everybody as quick as possible so that everybody has a chance to speak. So I don't intend that to be disrespectful at all. I just want to make sure we can try to get as many people as we can. So next on the list we have Paul Nelson. Is Paul in the audience, or is he on Zoom as well? Okay, Paul, you're next. You're on Zoom. Please state your name and the city that you live in for the record, and you have 3 minutes.
Thank you, Your Honor. My name is Paul Nelson. I live in Haines, Alaska. Can you hear me?
Yes, sir, we can.
All right, thank you for allowing me to speak. From my personal experience with our legal system, it is clear to me that David Haeg and those who have testified are very concerned about the loss of our constitutional rights and loss of access to the grand jury. We, the people, are asking for a peaceful solution to the loss of our constitutional rights and the violation of our civil rights. I can't tell you I know the answer, but I know that we need to do something to stop the corruption in the government of the state of Alaska. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Nelson. Okay, next on the list we have Mr. Ray Southwell. I think I saw him in the audience. Okay, same story. Please state your name for the record, the city you live in, and you will have 3 minutes.
So where's the button? One on the right?
I think it's that silver one there, right? Yep, you got it.
Did I turn it off?
You're back.
No, now it's on. Is it on? Can you hear me? Yes. Oh, great. I am Ray Southwell. I'm a resident of Nikiski. I want to express my gratitude for your interest in the grand jury. And I also want to tell you that I've not had any personal experience with the judicial system anywhere in the country. David Haeg has been instrumental on educating the public about this matter. There are two other active individuals who have made significant contributions, David Ignell and Thomas Garber. Most people are familiar with our three branches of government, executive, legislative, and judicial. All separate branches. It is important to recognize that the people are the fourth branch of government. This realization was paramount to our founders, and it's why the independence of the grand jury was a crucial aspect of our constitutional framework. The Second Amendment was also codified in our Constitution to protect this fundamental right. On March 22nd, 2023, the Alaska Senate had a hearing to discuss changes to the grand jury. Two presenters, Nancy Meade, General Counsel for the Alaska Court System, and John Skidmore, Deputy Attorney General for the Criminal Division. It is concerning to see two separate branches of government working in a concerted way against the interests of the people. Ms. Meade presented the history of the grand jury and how procedural changes that occurred along with the reasons. Grand jury investigations were rare, 1985, 1990, but things started to change in 2015. Part of that had to do with Tammy Wilson's request for a grand jury investigation of OCS. Ms. Meade did not disclose to the Senate that there were other grand juries with members who attempted to bring information to their grand juries starting in March 2018. All three were subsequently stopped. Ms. Meade explained the rules changes are implemented by the Supreme Court primarily through a committee process. However, in certain circumstances, they adopt rules in a different manner. She mentioned that the Supreme Court needed an expedient way to get a rule accomplished faster than the committee process. I wonder why. I find it intriguing. I would like to explore the reason this expediency in December of 2022, but I can't get into that because I'm running out of time. I will just let you know that the reason was because there was three individuals bringing information to the grand jury. One of those is here tonight, Thomas Garber, as well as David Haeg, but Thomas Garber went to the court. He went over several times. The judge was going to give him that opportunity to bring it to the grand jury, but what happened was the Supreme Court changed the rule, 1993, 14 days before his hearing where he would have accomplished that. And I just want to finish with this. He appealed to the Supreme Court. The Supreme Court just gave its ruling on November 28th, just 4 days ago. In that ruling, Mr. Garber had presented a case called United States versus Williams. In this federal case, the U.S. Supreme Court ruled the grand jury is an institution separate from the courts. However, the Alaska Supreme Court declared they do not have to comply with the Williams ruling because it was based on the U.S. Constitution, not Alaska's Constitution. Thank you for your time. I want to just say one last thing. In my life observations and experiences, and this has got to do with safety and welfare, when civil justice fails, street justice explodes. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Mr. Southwell. Okay, we're coming up on our aggregate of 20 minutes. I think I have time for maybe a couple more. Next on my list is Mr. Bob Bird. Mr. Bird, if you would state your name for the record, please, and the city you live in, and then you'll have 3 minutes.
Bob Bird, I'm a 48-year resident. In the Super Bowl sweepstakes, I'm from Nikiski. In the Super Bowl sweepstakes of lawfare, David Haeg leads Donald Trump 20 years to 4. All of you here have an oath to the Constitution, which has been violated by all three branches of the government. Which, by the way, there are not 3 co-equal branches of government. All you have to do is read it. It's the state constitution and the federal constitution. The low man on the totem pole is the judiciary. Secondly comes the executive, and supreme is the legislature. That's a fact. I've debated for the U.S. Senate on this, and they can't challenge it. So the bottom line is the legislature could have impeached the judiciary long ago. They don't have the courage. Governor Dunleavy has Article 3, Section 16 of the state constitution to intercept any violation of the Constitution. And one of them would be Supreme Court Order number 1993. He also could have stopped ranked choice voting because there's a law against having more than one subject on a citizen initiative. And it's in the Constitution. You're only supposed to have one for a legislative bill. And that's also been violated. The bottom line is the Constitution has been overthrown by the judiciary. And I can go back to 1996 when that happened. It's only David Haeg's case that has been that has pricked this boil, and now you have the chance to push the pus out. How? Because you're not responsible for the failure to impeach or Governor Dunleavy's failure to exercise Article 3, Section 16. But you can pass a resolution that this is enough. It is enough. And when the Borough Assembly gets behind it, then you're going to have the municipal assemblies of Kenai and Seward and Soldotna, maybe Homer. I hope so, because this cuts across politics. There is no justice available when the Supreme Court thinks it can play with the state constitution like it's their personal toy. It is not. There is one thing ahead of these three branches of government. The legislative is the head of the governmental branch, but the people are higher than all three. How can you possibly get the people to have a consensus? You can't, because we're of all shapes, sizes, religions, and so forth, but not when they come together as a grand jury. They don't have any knowledge of each other. They don't have any understanding of what your politics or religion is. When the grand jury comes together, they can root out corruption if they are permitted to do so. And it's been corrupted by the executive branch with their cooperation with Supreme Court Order 1993. Mr. Southwell said it perfectly. When civic justice fails, you're going to get street justice. You can do this. You can change it by making a statement tonight, by passing a resolution in support to have an investigation, and to encourage the governor to exercise Article 3, Section 16. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Britton. Okay, we have time. I'll take one more. The next name I have on my list is Steve Young. Mr. Young, please come to the mic, state your name for the record and the city you live in, and you'll have 3 minutes.
Okay. Can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
So I have found out about this today. Steve Young's my name, Soldotna, Country, Alaska. And I worked on this, did my best penmanship, rewrote it. 3 minutes isn't going to cut it. This doesn't cut it. What these people are saying here is at a different level than just the corruption of the court system, of which I was firsthand pounded with by this court here. What I want to affect on you guys is the idea that these actions that are taken by the individuals that you hear from here don't just stop with these people. They go to the schools when you're dealing with divorce and custodies and torn up children. You're going into churches where families are looking at each other going, oh, you deal with the Kenai court system. It's an automatic. The level, I believe, of money, and this should interest everybody because it's money that makes everybody go around. The level of money that is pulled out of this community through that court system, I believe, is in the millions of dollars. My example is this. When you go to the court, and I've never been involved in anything with the court system, kept my head down, worked, 20 years of cancer, whatever, never asked for a dime for nobody, worked. And when you go to the court, you tell them the proper procedures are, who we are, where we are, and the case number. In my case, I thought it was awful strange, and I couldn't focus on it because I have a boy who desperately needed his dad. It says, it says, the plaintiff's name, and then my name, and then in parentheses, this is the first thing a judge is reading. And in parentheses, a Tier 2 retirement. That's what it was all about. My state of Alaska Tier 2 retirement. It's like walking onto a Mercedes dealership with an 850 credit score, and their eyes get little diamonds in them. What can we take from you? And we're going to use children as cannon fodder. We're going to use children as leverage. They got away with it with me. We had a custody investigator. When it was all said and done, I went to the Attorney General's office with 80 pages documented. This lady lied through her teeth to a sitting jurist, lied to me, lied to a child, on and on and on. I brought this to a judge, and that is where you do not understand when you've had your constitutional rights smashed until it happens to you. You don't understand when somebody's child gets hit out on the road by a drunk driver unless it's your child. Then it's a little more deeper. I had a judge violate me, violate, furious, wanted to murder me. This is not an exaggeration. The Attorney General told me, in sum, the Department of Licensing has a disciplinary board. They says, we shouldn't have a license. There's nothing we can do. We suggest you take it to the Better Business Bureau. That's garbage. The judge lit me up. Multiple violations, civil. I will wrap it up here real quick, okay? So here's my conclusion here. The court in this small community is an incestuous relationship with so-called counselors, shrinks, custody investigators. Sorry. Conclusion, the court in this small community is an incestuous relationship with so-called counselors, shrinks, custody investigators, and attorneys. They live by an America code. Everybody stay silent. It is doubtful that there are any attorneys on this peninsula that have the skill sets to address the multiple constitutional and civil rights violations. They just don't have it in them. The court pulls massive amounts of money out of this community. Business owners should take note. I don't go buy a new bed. I don't go buy anything. You took me from 817 credit score to less than zero.
You're 3 minutes.
Two more things. That custody investigator was an asset of the state, protected by everybody involved. And finally, what I teach to just about anybody with as much love and smile as I can. The Kenai Court is a penicillin resilient syphilis on our community. The constitutions are not suggestions. They are enforceable. I filed 11 pages with the court system after my boy turned 18, letting them know, you guys got issues coming. And finally, real quick, while things need to be addressed legally, there's nothing to stop me, and I told these people, there's nothing to stop me from going asymmetrical on these people. I will destroy their professionals, I will destroy their finances, I will destroy their standards.
Thank you, Mr. Young.
For the community.
Appreciate your testimony. Okay,
Mr.
so,
President, my name is Jim Caswell. I'd like to know where my name is on the list.
you're next, Mr. Caswell. We'll take you and we'll call that the last one. How about that? You have 3 minutes. Please state your name for the record in the city that you live.
My name is Jim Caswell. Our family has property on Keystone Road, but I drove down. I'm living in Anchorage. I drove down from Anchorage to speak with you tonight. I have a special appreciation to the Assembly. I helped form the Denali Borough for 2 years, and I've served as Assembly member for the first 15 years. Over that period of time, like you, we heard all kinds of comments, sometimes complaints, various issues. We don't hear it often enough, and I want to tell you, I thank you for your service. I thank you very much. You do. I know you do the best you can to support your community, and that's commendable. Now, the issue is the grand jury and judicial corruption in the state of Alaska here. I want to point out that the grand jury was established first in Article 1 of our Constitution. It is not part of the judicial system. It is not subject to the judicial system. It works with the judicial system in most all cases under rules that they've come up with that are totally appropriate for the normal business. But when a grand jury wants to investigate corruption in government, especially corruption within the judicial system, their independence has to prevail. They were created before the legislative, executive, or judicial branch of government. It's in Article 1 because that our founders of the Constitution saw that the grand jury would be the last resort that a concerned public would have to take some action against its own government if they were misbehaving. That's what we have here. That's what we have here. Some of your residents here served for 2 years approximately on the Kenai grand jury investigating judicial corruption. And they wrote a report. I don't know what's in the report. I don't know which way it goes, but Judge Thomas Matthews has illegally, in my opinion, sequestered that report. He will not release it to the public. He has no right to do so. The grand jury is independent from the courts. And when they made that report, it's a public document. And the judges have bullied us to believe that they have the right to conceal it. They do not. And this information is getting more and more well known in public. I plead with you, please respect your citizens. There were 12 members of the grand jury. One went missing, and that was a setup probably, but we don't know. Was that grand juror paid off or dead or what? But it was a system. It was a setup, and the judges used it to drop the indictment against a standing judge. There's all kinds of bad stuff going on here. Please do what you can to establish a commission to look into some of these matters and find out where your member went, where the missing 12th juror is. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you, Mr. Caswell. Okay, at this time, we will close public comment and be back on to our regular agenda.